Today we have the privilege of being here with Stacey Love. She has some amazing history that we're really appreciating learning about. And she has grown up through an age when it was extremely difficult to be trans, and yet she is a survivor and she's here. And not only is she a survivor for herself, but she is running programs now that are helping all kinds of other trans women, trans men, non-binary people. Mm-hmm. And we have the privilege of talking with her a little bit about the program today. So tell us a little bit about your program called Saga, right?
Saga-LGBT Education and Support Services of Canada Incorporated is the full name. We call it SagaLGBT.org for short. But what it is in 2012, I had a real tough time to find a job. So I connected with an employment agency, and I found a 2-hour-a-week job through Canadian Mental Health. And one day while I was at work, my supervisor said, Stacey, we got a call from one of the prisons, and would you like to go there and speak to them? So I applied, and it took 3 months to get my clearance. But once I got in there and I met with the offender, he said, it's not just me, there's lots of us here. So we decided that we would put a proposal together, and we proposed that we would start a group. 3 months went by and nothing happened, and that offender took his life. And the next month I got approved, and I started that group with 12 individuals at this one prison. And that group is now over 30, 29, 30, around there. And it's a wonderful time. But word about that spread through the system. And I was the only one doing this work. And I started getting phone calls from the East Coast to the West Coast, from every institution in between. And trying to service that huge demographic of people was really, really a huge challenge. Although, mind you, I did it for a number of years by myself. I field roughly 100 phone calls a day. I go into the prisons. I work in 13 prisons and 7 halfway houses with about 350 LGBT people that are part of my programs. So realizing that this was bigger than me became an opportunity to look at ways to create a not-for-profit agency, which is Saga LGBT Education. And from that, it is just growing. So now I have a board of directors, and I have field officers, and I have people out there that can assist me to do the work that I do, because I can't do it alone. But what I have focused on, having those resources of people on the people close to me that are working kind of from the same platform that I am, provides me opportunity to go out into the world and profess our competency. And what I mean by that is being called upon by various companies, organizations, and agencies to come and speak about LGBT awareness and competency. Knowing the things to ask and what not to ask has really provided a lot of insight into a lot of people.
So you work with a lot of inmates who are trans, right? And it's difficult enough to be trans on the outside. What is that like for them?
Being trans in jail, you can't even imagine it. So first of all, you got to take a look at the whole system, because the system is flawed from the beginning. So somebody is arrested, and if they have a penis, they're put in a men's institution. And if they have a vagina, they're put in a female institution. That's the only thing that clarifies where they go, which is really a problem, because if I'm a trans person, not all trans people have surgeries. As a matter of fact, not all trans women have vaginas, and not all trans men have penises.
Mm-hmm. So what kinds of things do they kind of run into? What are some
They
of the
run
things?
into problems of discrimination and hatred on a daily basis. Their name tag is still their old name. They're not allowed to profess their chosen name. They don't have access to makeup. They don't have access to clothing, female clothing, to align them with the person that they see themselves as. And that goes on the other way as well, whether it be a transmasculine or a transfeminine. Transmasculine is somebody who is born biologically as a female and is transitioning to be a male. That's transmasculine. Transfeminine is the complete opposite, somebody who is born biologically male and is transitioning to be female.
So how does your program Saga then reach in, and how does it attempt to help these people on the inside?
In the prison system, we do a number of things. So one of the things I recognized very, very early in the work was it was great for me to go and have these one-to-one conversations with the offenders and look at opportunities for them to be authentic. But the minute they walk out the door, they get called a faggot or a queer or something, terrible. So it really opened my eyes that I needed to bring this awareness and education to the officers and the administration. So one of the things I set out to do was, that's great, you want me to come and work with your offenders, and if so, I'll gladly do that, but first I need to train all your staff. So that became a huge opportunity to provide training and education and awareness to many, many people, thousands, if you will, so that they could be culturally competent to deal with people in the system.
What kind of changes have you seen in people with the help that you've been able to provide?
So we now have trans women that are in the women's prison. We now have trans masculines that are in the men's prison. So that's one of the big changes. Another change is that some of them, for various reasons, will be at different levels in their transition. Some of them are allowed to have clothes. Some of them are allowed to have wigs. Some of them are allowed to have makeup. A lot of that depends on the institution in particular. All of our institutions, although they're provide service from Corrections Canada for our federal jails, in the provincial system in Ontario, it's the Ministry of Safety and Correctional Services. But within those, even the dynamics has changed within that as well, because we have a lot of LGBT people that work in those industries, and they are providing the services to the LGBT people. In the past, most of them were afraid to come out. Most of them were afraid to say that they were gay or lesbian or trans. And it's only through this awareness opportunity that I've experienced this huge growth in the system of people being more confident and coming out to their supervisors and being able to express themselves. And it's just created this wonderful opportunity, not only for the offenders, but the whole services.
Mm-hmm. So we understand better now than we ever did that being trans isn't necessarily binary, right? Male or female. And, you described the prison system as being very male or female, and that now at least, people are able to go to the right one. But what happens when non-binary people?
So non-binary people are treated the same, in the system. Unfortunately, it depends on what's in your pants. So, if they've got a penis, they're treated like a male, and regardless of how they identify.
You are doing some amazing work. How can people help you?
Support is the biggest thing. And if you're not able to provide, support that way, then, reach out and become aware and look for opportunities to learn about LGBT people, culture, to look at some of the history of LGBT, to understand that, we are just who we are, and we're no different than you are.
Thank you, Stacey, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
For sharing about the program.
Thank you.